Happy International Pipe Smoking Day. Hooray. Interesting holiday. It's very specific, given the name. I don't know how it got started. You can look and you can see it's been around since 2008. I don't know who or how that got brought on. I think it's kind of cool, but every day's a pipe smoking day for me. Well, I'll take that back. Not every day. I do on occasion not enjoy a pipe or a cigar in a given day, but it's not often. I had a few minutes in between my work today to throw this together, and because it's International Pipe Smoking Day, maybe what's relevant is like why I started pipe smoking. What do I enjoy about it? Um, Stuff like that, right? Rossi 111 Vittoria. Uh, Really inexpensive briar pipe. I love the Rossi stuff. I know some people say it's seconds or something, but it's a piece of wood, two holes in it. You get that right, everything's gonna be just fine. And in the pipe is some Mac Baren um, London Mixture. I picked up some of that a while back, and it's a burley with some like chocolate and rum. I think that's what it is. Um, it's it's really good. I usually don't like the flavoring stuff, the aromatic stuff, and it's not like real heavy aromatic, but um, the tin note is fantastic. It's like this real deep, rich chocolate smell, and when you are enjoying the bowl, you don't. It doesn't taste completely different than that. It actually tastes like the tin note. It's pretty cool. Um, Not overwhelming to the point where it's so sweet and it's hot, and it's just a really good tobacco. It's not an everyday thing for me, but it's pretty good. All right, look. So I'm 42 right now. I had to think about it. Um, when I grew up in the 80s, lots of people smoked. I mean, lots. Cigarettes and stuff. And but at the time when I was going through school, you were learning how the smoking leads to lung cancer and all that kind of stuff. So I really was not. When I was in high school, I thought that would be kind of silly to have like a cancer stick. So I never did that when I was in high school. I tried it, but I didn't like it. It was tasted terrible. It was awful. But my dad at points has smoked. My grandfathers both had pipes. Um, my dad liked cigars and pipes too, but he didn't. He wasn't really avid about any of that. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think of. I had a cigar first, and I liked the cigar. I liked the way it felt in my hand, how it smelled, um, the experience of actually enjoying the cigar, and that got me kind of on the road to that. I think I was 18 when I picked up my very first smoking pipe. Um, I don't have the first one, but I do have one that I bought another one I bought when I was 18. No, that is my first one. Come to think about it, it was another Rossi pipe 626. Well, I guess 8626 is what they call it. Um, yeah, that is the first one I bought, and shortly after that, I bought a freehand. I don't even know what it was. Something nicer, and both of those I got from a local tobacconist here around town. Well, not here. It was in New Albany, Indiana. Anyway, and I tried it, and it was fine. At the time, I didn't know anything about pipe tobaccos or, packing the bowls and how you light it and all that stuff. So, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't really that special. So primarily it was cigars from then on, with an occasional pipe. Okay, and the cigars were weren't very frequent. Maybe one every other month or something. Until I got into probably my 30s. Yeah, I don't know. It was probably late 20s or something. And that picked up a little bit. I had more money to spend on things like that. So I could afford to buy a box of cigars every now and then. And so that allowed me to enjoy it more. And so as the cigars got better, the pipe smoking came down even more. What that ended up going to is where I was a frequent cigar smoker. It was like three a week. Okay. And if you're buying good cigars, I mean, that could be $30 a week, $60 a week, depending on what cigars you're buying. And that was a little pricey. It's like, man, that's a lot, that's a lot of money to spend on, whatever. And most of the time, what I was doing is not buying boxes or anything like that. I had a couple humidors and they had some cigars in it. But really, if I was going to do that 2 or 3 times a week, I would just go down to the cigar bar locally if there was one, and have a drink and a cigar and talk to the people that were there. When I started traveling for work a lot back in 2008, that became a more regular thing. Because when you're traveling and everything, the hotels and stuff didn't want you to smoke in their whole rooms, which is fine. And but most of the time I could find a place that was a cigar lounge or a smoke shop or something I could go to, and that was like my break. At when I got done with work, I'd usually eat a meal, something, and then head to a cigar place. And that was my routine really when I'm traveling, usually. So shortly thereafter, though, I still had my pipes. And at the time, I still had the two pipes, the 626 and the heavier freehand pipe, and I still have them today. They're over here on my shelf. Um, and so I thought one time, I'd look on YouTube to see about the pipe smoking stuff and see if, I wonder if there's more to it. Um, what is there more that I'm not doing or not seeing or whatever? And then all of a sudden, that floodgates opened, and I realized there was all these other blends, all these other different kind of pipes. There was like a whole culture behind it. There was a whole community type of thing. So that fueled a change from a primarily cigar guy to vastly primarily pipe guy. Couple biggest reasons for me is A, it can be cheaper than a cigar. I say can because by the time you get into it and you bought a couple pipes, a pipe can be not as expensive, or it can be expensive depending on what you do. But the tobacco itself is less expensive. And a tin of tobacco lasts, depending on how much you do, it lasts a while. So you spend, again, prices are variable, but let's just say $12 on a tin if you're buying online and kind of average price. So $12, and that'll last you, that lasts you maybe a month, depending on how much you do in it. Me, I go through more than that, but for the sake of argument. So that's like one cigar, and you just had a lot of bowls of tobacco, okay? So there's that. And the other thing is there's so much more variety in the blends and flavors and all this stuff that you can do. And that changes it a little bit. That was really cool for me. I like different stuff even during a day. I don't really smoke a single blend per day, you know. I mean, there's occasion when I do, but it's rare. The other thing about the pipe is that you can work with your hands. Okay, with the cigar, even I wasn't clenching a cigar, if you call it that. That's not. I didn't like that. I didn't want to get the cigar all soggy and everything else. That bothered me. So it was really cool to be able to, be enjoying a pipe while I was doing yard work, while I was working on my computer and stuff, or whatever the case may be. And the smoke from it was not near as potent as the cigar. So when I would get done smoking a cigar somewhere, everything smelled like cigar. But pipes, though, not near as much. So it was kind of like, well, this is, a little better. And then as I got more acquainted, and after all that time, with, since, like I said, since I was about 18 years old with a pipe, I kind of had already figured out some of this stuff with packing your bowl not too tight, not using your torch lighter on your pipe, all that kind of stuff. I kind of already had sort of figured out on my own. But it was cool to kind of hone that a little bit by looking at how other people are packing their pipes and how they're lighting it and their cadences and, looking at all these different methods and everything else. That was kind of cool to look into. And I ended up not really doing any of that. But when I did it more and more, and I was trying different blends and different pipes and all that kind of stuff, so it got to the point where it was just like, hey, look, this is a really cool hobby. The downside to the pipe smoking hobby is that there's more maintenance involved. You got to keep your pipes clean. You got to store your tobacco in. And if you don't just have like one blend where you had just one jar sitting around, I got shelves of it, as you can see. Cigars are different. The maintenance is a humidor. And nowadays with these Bavita packets, you just stick one of those things in there and it's good to go. And they could just sit there until your Bavita packet was dry. You could get another one and off you go. That's as simple as it is. So I think the maintenance is a little different, obviously, between cigars and pipes. And pipes can be expensive. So yes, you'll buy a pipe, and if it's, let's say, $150, that pipe will outlast you, and you can pass it on to your families or whatever, and hopefully they'll use it, and it'll last them as long as everybody takes care of it. So, but the initial investment is a little higher when you're talking like, instead of, you could buy a box of cigars for 100 bucks or something. You buy a pipe, then you got to buy the tobacco. So overall, I think it all comes out in the wash, unless you're collecting pipes, which I tend to do. I like pipes. I think they're cool, and I find one I like, and that's kind of that. But yeah, so what I like about the actual in, the actual enjoyment of a pipe, I like that it's not a quick thing. What I mean by that is it takes patience to like make sure your pipe is packed correctly. You got to light it right. You got to, all that stuff. There's like all these elements to it that aren't necessarily very quick things. So a pipe enthusiast is going to it's a little more. Well, here's how I'll relate it to this. It's like coffee. You can go get a gas station cup of coffee real quick, in and out, and it's meh, right? But a really good cup of coffee, like you've got some fresh roasted beans from imported from Brazil or something. There you got your grinder. You sit there and you grind in your specific amount of coffee. You weigh it. You put it in the whatever mechanism you're going to use. The water's a specific temperature, and you go through this blooming period, and and you let it brew at a certain speed and all this kind of stuff. That's a totally different cup of coffee, right? It's the same thing with the pipe. Like it would, you know, you can pick up a Swisher Sweet cigar and it's fine ish. I don't like them myself, but to each their own, I suppose. Or you buy a $30, Padron 64, and it's a different experience. And then you tack on to that, though. Not only is the tobacco can be a lot better in the pipe, though. It's just it takes a while to do it. There's a process, and it's kind of a ritualistic thing. And then that's not even getting into like if you press your own or make your own blends or stuff like that. So I like all that about it. The actual experience when smoking a pipe, though, I like how it feels. I like the taste. Um, I like the actual mechanics of it. I like the feeling of a pipe in clenching. I like this. This is my preferred way to exist. So, yeah, and then I like the fact that it's kind of nostalgic. Uh, you know, it, there's not a lot of pipe people out there anymore. Now, I think it's grown a little bit over the years, or maybe not necessarily grown, but there's more. You're able to see more people who enjoy it. So that's my tidbits for the International Pipe Smoking Day. To kind of lay out why and the intricacies of it, so yeah, I let my pipe go out, so that's bad. I'm gonna actually open up a bag of Penzance I have today. I've never done it, and I'm looking forward to trying it. Should be awesome. Then again, there's a lot of great pipe tobaccos out there, so I have high hopes. But if it's not like the best thing I've ever had, it's not going to ruin my day either. So to all my pipe smoking compadres, have a good one. Enjoy. May your smoke be plentiful today, as it were. Pipe and Redbeard. Later.